Hi, my name is Roland. I am a self-published author. I have sold 65,000 copies of my books. I've reached 320,000 readers on Kindle Unlimited, and I make no illusion about the fact that a lot of my success comes down to the fact that I took Mark Dawson's Self Publishing 101 course. So every time he opens up one of his courses, I like to make a little video to talk about that. But I'm not here just to gush about the course. I'm here to tell you some honest, uncomfortable truths about it that might give you a much more realistic expectation of what you are doing and what you are getting into. And being a self-serving little son of a bitch that I am, obviously I make these videos because I would like to get something out of it. So watch this video. I'm going to be brutally honest about the course, about the journey that follows after you've taken Mark Dawson's course, and if after you watch this video, if you think it has provided value and you decide you want to enroll for Self-Publishing 101, there's a link in the description down below. If you click that, I get a little kickback, a little piece of the action, and I would appreciate that greatly. And that's really what I try to do with these videos, is not just gush about the course and why you should go and please click on the link down there. I try to be very, very honest, sometimes brutally honest, about what your experiences are going to be taking a course like this. So, Mark Dawson is a prodigiously successful self-published author. He writes espionage thrillers about John Milton, who's a former British agent gone rogue. They're very good books. I read a number of them myself. But he is almost as famous for his Self-Publishing 101 course and his Advertising for Authors course that has gone on to help literally thousands of authors, including myself, become successful. And I make these videos because in 2015 I took his Self-Publishing 101 course, and it changed everything for me. It was what set me on the path to eventually becoming a successful author under my own steam. But it's quite a journey. It's quite a journey to get there. I took the course in 2015. My first best-selling book didn't actually come out until 2018. So it wasn't something, I didn't just spend the money on this course and it happened overnight. And the thing that I think is very cool about Mark Dawson's course is the fact that it is not cheap. It is an expensive course, and it's not just expensive in terms of the fact I think it costs like $700 these days. It's also expensive in the time you have to invest. There are like hours and hours of material you go through. Mark Dawson, bless him, wonderful man, but he does like to waffle quite a bit. Maybe I've lived in America too long, because I'm from like the same background as him, and I am a bit of a waffler at the best of times. And these days I'm like, he does like to talk quite a lot, but a lot of what he says is gold, sliced gold. But here's the thing. Let me go back to 2015 and think about my journey to become a student of Self-Publishing 101. I had been publishing for about 2 years then. First of all, I started with like erotic short stories, and then I moved on to romance novels. And I had achieved a certain amount of success. In fact, I think 2015 at that point was like my biggest year. I was making like $5,000 a month because of the way Kindle Unlimited was set up. Those days are long, long gone, unfortunately. But I wanted to take it to the next level. And I'd heard all these things about Mark Dawson's course, about how you could learn advertising for authors and Self-Publishing 101, and I was like, shall I do it? Shall I do it? And so I spent, at that point, I think it was only about $500 on the course. And I'll tell you, at that point, I wasn't making a huge, I mean, they say $5,000 a month, but when you're trying to support your family and everything like that with that, it wasn't, that was still a lot of money, is what I'm trying to say. So it was a lot of money to spend on this course, although the promise of what it offered was very, very attractive. And one of the things I think is very important is I bought that course, and it granted you lifetime access, and every single year all of the materials get updated, and every single year I've gone back and taken the courses and learnt new things and learnt more stuff. So at the time I was like, this is a lot of money to spend on something, $500 on something. But I've definitely got more than my money's worth out of it since, because of all the stuff that's been updated, all the stuff that has grown and developed from that. And Mark Dawson's brought in experts from Amazon and places like that to really give you an authoritative view on how all of this stuff works. But yeah, I paid that $500. I started taking the course and I listened to it, and I'm a big multitasker, so I had my phone, I was listening to the recordings as I was tidying my kids' rooms and stuff like that, and it taught me a lot. It taught me a huge amount, but I also remember at the time having very false expectations about what it was going to give me. I was listening to this course on how to become successful as a self-published author using marketing and advertising, and Mark Dawson was using some real-life examples of his success, which is fantastic, and I appreciated that. The fact that he is so successful is what makes this course stand apart, because so many other people are always trying to sell you courses about how you can be a successful self-published author. Mark Dawson was a successful self-published author, so he really did have some legitimacy in what he was saying. But I have to admit, I listened to all of the things that he was saying about his Facebook campaigns and the return on investment he was getting his stuff, and I was just like, oh my god, this is it, I'm so excited. Because I thought that, if I just did what he told me, I would immediately start earning enough to support my family, live in wealth, buy countless stupid British sports cars to spend my entire time fixing up. But that wasn't quite how it worked out. So I took Mark Dawson's course and I started implementing each of the steps in it. Self-Publishing 101 is really quite amazing, because it gives you a sort of step-by-step program towards how to become a successful self-published author. So it includes like generating creating a newsletter and a subscriber base, and that is like the bread and butter. There's no author who is self-published who is successful without having like that newsletter base. So much of what he taught me as I implemented it was like vital and important, but also so much of it at the time fell completely flat. And that's the bit they don't really tell you. I remember the first year after that, I did a YouTube video when his course opened up, and I said, hey Mark, I love your course, but you're missing the secret sauce. And I really did think, and this is just me because I'm a cynical twat, but I was like, oh, he gives you 98% of it, but that magic 2% he holds back. Because I wasn't seeing the same results that Mark was talking about with his own books. And it was frustrating. I was doing Facebook adverts, and they weren't providing the return on investment. I was spending a huge amount of money. Never quite could get the success that I expected, and I was very, very disappointed. But it turns out, this is the important thing, turns out that secret sauce is how good your book is. If there's one criticism I have of Mark Dawson's course, it's the fact it doesn't really focus in on the fact that if you don't write a book that people want to read, it doesn't matter how good you are at advertising, it doesn't matter what kind of process you have, you are not going to be successful. People like to read books that they want to read. I mean, anybody who's a self-published author probably knows when you're doing one of those free giveaways, it's difficult enough to give your book away for free. So to have people actually pay for it is quite a thing. And people only buy books they want to read, and that was the missing secret sauce for me, and that's why I really floundered. I took Mark Dawson's course in 2015, 2016 when Kindle Unlimited changed. My earnings just tanked. I kept going at it, And if you talk about my life story, if there is ever one reason why I am a successful writer, it's because I'm too bloody stubborn to quit. But I kept at it, and it was hugely disheartening, though. I never really blamed Mark Dawson's course because it was a very good course, but I was just like, oh god, this, maybe this stupid dream I've had since I was 9 years old to be a writer is completely ridiculous. And I kept writing, I kept publishing, I kept learning, and then one day in 2018 in the summer, I wrote a book and I published it, and it was like, boom! It was like the producers. Where did I go right? And that was the moment where I was like, oh, if you write a book people want to read, they'll buy it, and then if you advertise that book, they'll buy more of it. And yeah, from 2015 to 2018, it was a journey in which I forgot the fundamental and essential rule of advertising. You see, I come from an advertising background. That's the ridiculous thing. I was a double glazing salesman in Southampton. Told me this, it doesn't matter how much you spend on advertising. If somebody doesn't want to buy something, they're not going to buy it. And that's what I found frustrating, the 2015 iteration of Mark Dawson's course, is that it didn't really cover the fact that if your book is not something people want to buy, they're not going to buy it. And for me, what changed everything was when I finally wrote a book that worked, that people wanted, that hit all the buttons. I always joke about it, was when I found my voice. It was when I wrote, I love writing romance novels. I love the format of romance novels, the formula of it, with the first person perspective, alternating male and female and stuff. It's just a brilliant way to tell stories. And then I took all of the explosions and adventures and motorcycles and planes and guns and exciting action movie stuff that I've always wanted to write. And when you squish them together, suddenly I hit pay dirt, and I wrote a book that just exploded. And from there, that was what changed everything. But I'm still not done yet, because in terms of advertising, even though I'd finally understood that Mark Dawson hadn't held anything back, the secret sauce was simply being able to write a really, really good book. There are other things that you will experience as a self-published author that stop you being as successful as you think you are going to be when you take Mark Dawson's course. For me, it was the most ridiculous thing. So when I took Mark Dawson's course, and when I was throwing huge amounts of money into advertising the books that I'd written, and I was never getting the results that I wanted. And it's very easy to blame Mark Dawson's course of this, but actually what happened is I had screwed up. And there was one moment when I made one little tweak to the product pages of my books. And it was all I did was change the font size of the blurb. And suddenly it made my advertising go from not profitable to profitable. And it was just like, yeah, because if you change the font size, you can have an extra 2 lines of text in that blurb before you hit the read more button. And if you can get a hook in there that people want to, if people are so interested they commit to clicking on that read more button, then boom, it's over. 50% more people will buy your book. And it's something else that Mark Dawson's course didn't teach me, it's not something I think that he could teach, because that's the problem. It's like he has the challenge of creating this huge course to suit all authors of all books, and at the end of the day, part of the process, part of the journey is you learn the stuff you have to do, but then you have to customize it to suit your particular books. And so I speak from experience when I say I took the course in 2015. 2018 was the year that I actually finally made it work. And I'm sure there are far more people who are much smarter than me who managed to make it work before then. I never claimed to be very intelligent, but it was a really rough journey that way. So if you are standing there thinking, shall I invest in Mark Dawson Self Publishing 101 course, just please be aware that this is what will happen to you. You will take the course, you will learn so much, and maybe you'll implement some of it, and maybe you'll implement all of it, and you will hit a brick wall. You'll be like, what am I doing wrong? I'm following all of the instructions. But if you persevere, then you will be successful. You persevere and you learn and you will be successful. And that's the thing that Mark Dawson's course doesn't really teach you, because it can't teach you that. It can't teach you to rein in the human condition of madness that convinces some small percentage of us to become writers. But the moment you manage to do that, the moment you manage to find your voice, your thing, you manage to actually write the book that people actually want to read, at that point, if you've taken Self-Publishing 101, you cannot fail. You cannot fail. Mark Dawson's Self-Publishing 101 course teaches you step by step everything you need to become successful as a self-published author, except how to write good books. That it can't teach you. And that's the secret sauce, and that's what makes it all different. And that's where the fundamental belief in my life comes from. I almost feel that, you know, this is as much of the sound of trumpets that I hear as writing my adventure books. I believe every single person on earth has a potential to be a successful self-published writer if they learn the craft of writing and follow the process of successful self-publishing. And the craft of writing, that's something you can't necessarily learn of 20 hours of course material, but the process, that you can, and that is what Mark Dawson's Self-Publishing 101 course teaches you, the process of successful self-publishing. So, if you can go through that incredible journey to find your voice, find your way of connecting with readers, write a book that people want to read, have a cover that people want to click on, have a blurb that makes people excited to open the first page, and then you pair that with what you learn from Mark Dawson's Self-Publishing 101 course, then you will be unstoppable. But you have to do that. You have to actually write a book that people want to read. And that's the thing people don't always tell you when you do reviews or recommendations about things. And I imagine that, just like I experienced, there will be lots of people who do Mark Dawson's course, and I've spoken to so many of them, because I do consulting with a lot of authors, and they say like, oh, I did Mark Dawson's course, it didn't really work for me. Except the thing is, if you stick to it, if you use what he teaches you, and you have a book that people want to buy, it works amazingly. But you have to get that thing, you have to get that book that people want to buy. So I don't know, that's something else entirely. I know Mark Dawson does offer courses like how to write a bestseller and stuff like that, but for me, I do one-to-one consulting with a lot of authors sometimes, and I love doing it because you get to speak to the people who have the same passion as you. And often what I find is the books that they write are amazing, and the only things they're missing are like a really strong cover, a really good blurb, the way you lay out your categories in Amazon, the keywords that you use, stuff like this. These small little details are things that it's very difficult to get right for your particular book. But when you do, and you pair it with like Mark Dawson's Self-Publishing 101 course, then yeah, your dreams can come true. And that's the most amazing thing. Like, we live in the most incredible time for storytellers, because dipshits like me have the opportunity to write stories that are really meaningful to us and publish them, and people can read them. And I mean, I've found it amazing. I've made more money in a month through book royalties than I've ever made in any job, ever. Unfortunately, it hasn't been consistent, but I still say, you know, if it'd take my entire 25-year career working, and the most money I've ever earned in a month from one particular thing has been in book sales. So the opportunity exists for stupid people like me to make a living doing the thing that we are truly passionate about, which is telling stories and connecting with people that way. And the thing that is really cool and special about Mark Dawson Self Publishing 101 course is he gives you 50% of what you need to be successful in doing that. And the rest is up to you. But I'll tell you what, if you've sat through 20 minutes and 13 seconds of me rabbiting on about this, then I imagine that that you do have what it takes to find that success. And yeah, you will have a few hurdles to overcome on the path to becoming a successful self-published author. But I'll tell you what, you will not go wrong with buying into Mark Dawson Self Publishing 101 course, because it is the foundation, the process that you need to learn, and that much gives you such an incredible advantage in this game that it's worth every penny. Anyway, this video has gone on for far too long, but yeah, if you've watched it and it has provided any value to you, then please click on the link below if you're going to buy Mark Dawson's course, just so I get a little kickback, because it makes making these videos worthwhile. And whether you do or not, I wish you the best of luck in your writing and self-publishing journey. As I said, anyone can be a successful self-published author as long as they learn the craft of writing and follow the process of successful self-publishing, and that can be you. And I wish you the best of luck with it, and I'm going to continue making these videos because maybe something that I say will provide some value to you. Thank you. Cheerio.